The Sinister Witch at 3 a.m., terrifying encounters with the haunted and unexplained. The clock blinked 3 a.m., and Claire gripped the steering wheel tight, heart racing as shadows danced beneath flickering streetlights. She felt it, the anticipation, the fear of that dreadful urban legend, the Sinister Witch of Maplewood. A legend nobody took seriously until now. But as she drove along the desolate road, the hair on her neck stood on end. An eerie white fog rolled off the treetops, curling like ghostly fingers reaching for her car. Suddenly, the engine sputtered, the headlights dimmed, and then silence. Her breath hitched. "Not now," she murmured, every primal instinct urging her to flee. She could feel it, a presence lurking beyond the trees, watching. The woods loomed like jagged teeth against the moonlit sky. Claire felt cold sweat prickling at her brow, pools of dread forming in her stomach like stones. She turned off her ignition, dread clutching her as whispers echoed around her. Was it the wind, or was someone calling her name? Claire, her pulse quickened, the name lingering on the breeze like a beckoning lure. She strained her eyes, trying to pierce the thick darkness, half expecting to see the infamous witch she had heard about, a twisted figure draped in rags, with a haunting grin that could crack the hardest heart. With each passing moment, the silence swelled around her, oppressive, heavy. Was this what superstition felt like? The thought sent icy tendrils down her spine. Before she could spiral too far, her phone buzzed, her lifeline. A tow truck was 30 minutes away, and that felt like an eternity. She forced herself to breathe, determined to keep her composure. Muffled talks of nearby bonfires and urban legends swarmed her mind, distorting the peaceful suburb she'd known for years. Was Maplewood really as innocent as it appeared? Or had she fallen into a more sinister narrative? When she finally slid back into the familiar embrace of her home, the relentless feeling of foreboding trailed after her. She found her kids huddled together, wide-eyed as they exchanged wild tales of shadowy figures chasing them in their dreams. Their innocence twisted her heart, especially Lily, who, with an imaginative spark in her eyes, recounted a story about the witch in the woods, who could steal children away. Claire's stomach churned, especially at the way Lily pointed towards the old, rickety house down the street known to belong to Mrs. Graves. She felt a chill run through her. Was that the woman rumored to dabble in dark magic? The rumors were thick. Her protective instinct screamed to shield her babies from the danger lurking in their own neighborhood, and then it began, the strange happenings at home. Doors creaked mysteriously, an unexplainable chill swept through the hallways, and most unsettling were the patterns Lily drew with reckless abandon, strange sigils that covered every surface she could find. It sent Claire into a meltdown, wrapping paranoia tight around her mind. Was her exhaustion spilling into her perspective? Sam, curious as ever, dug out an old diary from the attic, filled with unsettling accounts of family who had lived in fear of Mrs. Graves and her supposed powers. Each entry grew darker, wrapping Claire in a suffocating cloak of anxiety. She didn't know if she could protect her children from whatever was unfurling around them. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each day passed, layered with fear and confusion, trust eroding by the hour. Just when she thought she had pieced together Mrs. Graves' enigmatic past, something deeper, darker lurked in the shadows. An icy breeze whispered through the house, and Claire's heart sank as whispered shadows crept closer. She had to unravel this before it consumed them all. Had they unknowingly wandered into something far more dangerous? Something that had roots buried deep in the dark history of Maplewood? As her resolve solidified, the room chilled with an unseen presence, and Claire knew with a creeping dread she was not alone. The walls felt as if they were closing in on Claire, the air thick with an oppressive weight that hung heavily in her chest. She glanced around the dimly lit living room, shadows playing tricks on her, morphing into grotesque shapes that seemed to creep closer. The sound of someone softly humming drifted through the air, a chilling, off-key melody that wrapped around the edges of her sanity. "Mom!" Sam's voice broke the tension, cutting through the silence like a knife. He stood at the edge of the hallway, eyes wide and trembling. "Did you hear that?" "Just the wind," Claire said, though her voice quaked. She clenched her fists, fighting the urge to let panic take over. "It's nothing." But as she spoke, her gaze fell on Lily, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor, scribbling frantically in her sketchbook. "Look, Mom!" Lily exclaimed, her voice bright, but her eyes were wide with something more fear or excitement, Claire couldn't tell. As she turned the pages, Claire's stomach dropped. Every page was filled with the same twisted symbols, sharp angles depicting an ancient darkness. This wasn't child's play. Each stroke sent shivers rippling through Claire's spine. "Lily, honey," Claire took a step closer, her heart pounding. "What are these?" Lily's smile faltered, disappearing as quickly as it had come. "It's the witch, Mom. She's calling to me." Muffled laughter echoed from behind the door, but Claire's heart raced for another reason. It felt wrong. The shadows deepened, stretching toward her children as if beckoning them closer. She wanted to scream, to tear Lily away from those drawings, but she felt rooted, eyes drawn to the sigils like moths to a flame. "Come on, we need to stop this," Claire finally said, her voice hoarse. She snatched the sketchbook from Lily's small hands, flipping through the pages, analyzing each frenzied line as a chill snaked down her spine. What was happening to her daughter? Just then, a loud bang echoed from the basement. It was an unfamiliar sound that sent jolts of terror coursing through her. Inch by inch, Claire edged toward the sound, every instinct screaming at her to turn back. The door stood ominously ajar, almost taunting her. "Stay here," Claire instructed, trying to sound more confident than she felt. The whispering grew louder, a cacophony of voices swirling in her mind, urging her forward. She descended the creaking stairs, each step echoing like a drumbeat against her skull. The basement was dark, filled with dust motes swirling in the dim light. As she reached for the pull-string to illuminate the space, a shadow flitted across her vision. She froze, breath hitching. "Hello?" No answer. Just the muffled sound of a child's giggle from behind the darkness. Each second stretched painfully, her awareness birthing the realization that something was indeed down there with her. Then, a small hand grabbed her ankle, cold and clammy. "Mommy!" Lily's voice, impossibly close, wrapped around her heart with icy fingers. Claire's heart raced as she whipped around, the sickness of dread flooding her veins. The laughter was ominous now, spiraling into a sinister echo around her. "Lily!" Claire cried out, desperately pulling the light string. As the darkness recoiled, she was met with a sight that sent her heart plummeting. Lily stood at the bottom of the stairs, but with her was a figure draped in tattered rags, its distorted grin twisting in the pale light. "Who is that?" Claire whispered, fear gnawing on her every thought as dread flooded her. The figure turned slowly, body language taunting. Claire's blood ran cold as realization washed over her. Mrs. Graves wasn't just a legend. She had been watching all along. "Come play with us," Mrs. Graves crooned, extending a gnarled hand toward Lily, who, entranced, began to move closer. "No, what had she unleashed?" Claire's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She lunged forward, every protective instinct wild and raging. Was it too late? In that moment, Claire braced herself to confront whatever darkness loomed in the shadows. But as she stumbled forward, Mrs. Graves' laughter echoed, sending shards of terror through her very core. What had she really awoken in her pursuit to protect her children? The walls hummed with an unsettling energy as the witch's eyes glimmered with cruel delight. The fight was just beginning. Could she save her family from the malevolence that had clawed its way into their lives? And at what cost? Claire's heart was a wild drum, pounding in her chest as she rushed toward Lily, her mind spinning with raw terror. Mrs. Graves' laughter still hung in the air like a toxic fog, thickening around her. Instinctively, she reached for Lily's hand, desperate to pull her away from that sinister figure, but just as her fingers brushed against her daughter's wrist, a surge of icy wind rattled the room, slamming the basement door shut behind her with a deafening thud. Claire felt the world spin, her breath caught in her throat. Her pulse raced, turning each second into a sick eternity. "Lily, come back!" she shouted, but the sound mingled with the echo of Mrs. Graves' sinister giggle. Lily stood transfixed, her wide eyes locked onto the witch's glowing gaze, as if being pulled by an invisible string. Claire fought against the paralysis that gripped her. She had to act. The darkness was alive and hungry, curling around them like a serpent. "Step away from her." Claire's voice crackled, the fierce determination surprising even her. Yet the rags of Mrs. Graves fluttered like the wings of a nightmarish bird, and the shadows coalesced, forming claws that seemed to reach for Claire. "Come play, my dear," Mrs. Graves whispered, her voice sickly sweet, drenching the air in dread. "Lily wants to stay. Don't you, my little artist?" "No!" Claire yelled, channeling every bit of strength into her words. The sheer force of her love broke through the suffocating aura of darkness, and she lunged forward, yanking Lily to her side. As soon as they connected, Claire felt a jolt of warmth like a lighthouse beam breaking through the suffocating fog. But the reprieve was short-lived. A shriek filled the basement, a sound that chilled her bones and rattled her teeth. The shadows recoiled, as if the witch's rage could turn pure darkness into fire. "Foolish mother!" Mrs. Graves hissed, her face twisting into a mess of anger and mockery. "You think you have power here?" With a flick of her wrist, the room lurched, and Claire was thrown against the cold stone wall. Air rushed from her lungs as the force knocked her dizzy, the world spinning in a dizzying whirl. "Mom!" Sam's voice, wide-eyed and frantic, echoed from above. How had he managed to stay upstairs? Claire strained against the wall, breath coming in labored gasps as she climbed back to her feet. She had to get back to him, had to protect him too. "Stay put!" she shouted, though terror shadowed her voice. She turned back to Lily, who was still caught in a trance, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. The witch loomed closer, hungry and powerful, a creature of nightmares taking shape. "Release her!" Claire's voice was a knife slicing through air thick with dread. "This isn't a game." The witch grinned, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "What a pity you think you can bargain, dear Claire." The shadows swirled violently, slashing toward her like a whip. Suddenly, with a primal scream, Claire lunged again, this time more fueled by sheer instinct than rational thought. She grabbed the sketchbook that lay discarded on the floor and hurled it at Mrs. Graves. "Stop it!" Claire screamed, her heart racing as the pages fluttered in the air like desperate birds escaping the dark. For a moment, everything hung still, and Claire felt the oppressive weight shift. The shadows faltered, and Lily shook her head, a flicker of recognition sparking back into her glazed expression. "Mom?" Lily's voice was soft, confused. What as the ground trembled underneath them. And then the basement light flickered wildly. Mrs. Graves shrieked, anger slashing through the room, echoing off the stone with unnatural reverberation. In that instant, Claire knew time was running out, and the old witch was not just a phantom of frigidity, she was something far worse, something that thrived on chaos and fear. "Run!" Claire screamed, as the floor trembled, the air cracking with dark energy, consuming everything it touched. A chasm of darkness opened, pulling at Claire's legs, threatening to swallow them whole. She reached desperately for her children, hearts pounding as she fought against the malevolence that sought to tear their family apart. But a cold laugh rippled through the basement, chilling every thought. What would it take to break the witch's hold? Could they escape the cycle of horror before it consumed them entirely? The darkness roared, and the witch's voice echoed, promising torment beyond comprehension. And in that moment, Claire realized the true price of survival might be more than she was willing to pay. The shadows roared back to life, engulfing Claire in a rush of cold like the frigid tide of a winter storm. The weight of despair pressed down on her, each heartbeat thundering in her ears, each breath a treacherous battle. She clenched Lily's hand tighter, feeling the warmth slowly fading from her daughter's palm as the darkness tried to pull them apart. "Lily!" Claire cried, her voice cracking. She could see it in her daughter's wide, terrified eyes, a flicker of understanding fighting against the allure of the witch's charm. "I need you to listen to me. Focus on my voice." Mrs. Graves was undeterred by Claire's pleas. The witch whirled like a tempest, her laughter echoing off the stone walls, a cruel mockery of their plight. The very air thickened with malice, and the shadows wrapped around Claire's legs, tugging at her, trying to drag her down into the abyss. "Come to me, little one," the witch crooned, teeth glimmering under the basement's feeble light. "I promise you beauty and art. All that darkness can create." "Mom, I'm scared." Lily whimpered, her body trembling as she swayed slightly, still caught in the witch's thrall. "Look at me!" Claire shouted, desperation igniting within. "Remember our drawings? You've always been the strongest artist in the world. Fight it, Lily. You can do this." Clarity sparked in Lily's eyes for just a moment, but she wavered, drawn closer as Mrs. Graves beckoned her a moth to a flame. The basement quaked violently, a primal warning, pulling Claire deeper into the murky darkness. She felt the ground shift beneath her feet as confusion spun like a whirlwind. "Mommy!" Sam's voice pierced the chaos. He appeared at the top of the stairs, fear etched on his face, his trembling hands gripping the railing. It was like a lighthouse in the storm, giving Claire only a moment to gather her resolve before the raging tide pulled them into oblivion. "Sam, don't come down," she called, her voice soaking with urgency. "Go get help. Now. I can't just leave you." Sam protested, terror woven into his tone. "Go!" Claire yelled, desperation and maternal instinct intertwining as she fought against the shadows tugging at her body. She had to protect them. They only had a moment before she felt the room begin to compress around them, tightening like a vice. Mrs. Graves narrowed her eyes, sensing the shift. "You think your love can shield you from my power? You are all mine." With a flick of her wrist, darkness spewed forth, coiling and writhing as it lunged toward Claire and Lily, claws outstretched. "Run, Sam!" Claire screamed, her voice a fierce battle cry defying the surging tide. She felt it, the knot in her chest, the bitter taste of fear as the shadows raced toward her children. Sam hesitated, confusion flickering in his eyes. "Mom, please," he begged, but Claire couldn't look away from the encroaching darkness. In an instant, time stretched to breaking, and Claire made a choice. She reached for the sketchbook that had flown from her grasp, the one thing that had sparked a flicker in Lily's eyes. With a deep breath, she hurled it toward her daughter. "Lily, draw. Create. Do you remember what I taught you? Use your imagination." The book flew through the air, pages flipping wildly, the sketches of joy and color erupting into the dimness. Light spilled forth from the illustrations, swirling and dancing against the haunting darkness. For a heartbeat, a bright glimmer split the room, but the witch howled, rage igniting the air. "No! You will not escape me. You cannot resist." Lily blinked, a new determination dawning in her eyes as she grasped the sketchbook mid-flight. Claire watched in awe as her daughter stood firm, a figure of strength amid chaos, her fingers moving as if guided by an unseen force, sketching furiously on the pages. "Draw, Lily. Let the light bleed through the shadows." Claire shouted, the words bubbling with fierce encouragement. The basement trembled again, a violent shudder as Mrs. Graves screamed, the shadows pulling helplessly against the light radiating from the drawings. But Claire felt the ground beneath her begin to crack, the power struggle manifesting in violent shifts. "Are you willing to sacrifice her?" Mrs. Graves hissed, eyes darkening with a primal hunger. Suddenly, the air thickened with the weight of uncertainty. What would unravel next? Could they push back against such a relentless evil? In that moment, Claire knew the battle wasn't just to save her family, it was to survive the choices that loomed like ominous shadows on the horizon. Then the room erupted into chaos. What came next would test the limits of their resolve and the lengths of their spirit, forcing each of them to confront their deepest fears. Would they find the strength to push past the darkness? Or would they be consumed by the very nightmares they fought to escape? The floor cracked wide, a jagged gash splitting the surface like a wound. Claire stumbled, the shadows pulling and clawing at her, their icy tendrils slashing through the air like 1,000 rushing blades. Her heart raced, each beat a frantic drum echoing in the depths of despair that filled the basement. "Lily, keep drawing," she shouted, though panic threatened to swallow her voice whole. Her daughter was now more than just a child, she was a beacon of light fighting against an overwhelming darkness. Claire could see the fierce determination etched across Lily's face as she sketched furiously, colors exploding with brilliance, repelling the encroaching shadows, if only for a moment. Mrs. Graves seethed, her form warping in the chaos, a grotesque figure still tethered to the dark. "You think a child's scribbles can save you? I feed on hope and darkness. You are all ripe for the taking." Her voice was a sinister melody, weaving through the air, hinting at terrible promises. The walls of the basement trembled, vibrations thrumming through Claire's body, shaking her resolve. The overpowering stench of burnt hair and rotten flesh filled her nostrils, each breath tasting of dread and despair. She felt her grip on Lily loosen, the shadows tugging, promising to engulf them both if she didn't hold on tight enough. "Lily! Fight! Remember the stories I told you? The fairy tales with happy endings?" Claire yelled, her voice cracking under the strain. Lily nodded, her eyes wide, but the shadows curled around her like poisonous vines, whispering secrets that twisted her imagination. Claire's heart sank as she saw the flicker of doubt creep back into her daughter's expression. "No. Stay strong. You're an artist. You can bend the world with your imagination." With a rush of determination, Lily pressed her pencil against the sketchbook, drawing with such intensity it seemed to vibrate with raw energy. The light pulsed, the figures of brave knights and vibrant flowers popping to life, breaking through the shroud of darkness like a sunrise over a nightmare. But Mrs. Graves howled in rage, her glimmering teeth revealed in a wicked grin, fingers curling into claws. "You draw your hope, but I will turn it to ash. I will extinguish it every time you breathe." The shadows writhed, tightening around Claire, each claw slicing to pierce through her resolve like glass. They were cold, relentless, and the air grew dense with an otherworldly chill, striking fear deep into her bones. "Sam! We need you!" Claire screamed, hoping he could muster enough strength to join them in this fight against evil. Sam had always been her younger son, the quieter one, the one always tucked behind her. But here they were, in the heart of despair, where nightmares held sway over reality. "Mom!" Sam called again, his voice edged with panic, cutting through the wild turmoil. He stood at the top of the stairs, helpless, eyes darting in confusion. "Please, Sam. We can't give in to her. We can't." How touching," Mrs. Graves mocked, her smile twisting. "Family united against destiny, but can you truly save your precious daughter when you're faced with the ultimate sacrifice?" Claire felt her stomach drop with the weight of that dark whisper. What would she have to give up to save Lily? Would it mean exposing Sam to this horror too, or worse, sacrificing herself? Each choice loomed like a specter, dark and clawing, reopening wounds she thought long healed. As the shadows closed in, combining like an unstoppable wave, Claire's eyes locked onto Lily's fierce expression, and something shattered inside her. She knew she had one last chance to rally her family, her source of strength. "Draw the brightest, most beautiful thing you can think of, Lily. Picture your dreams, the real ones. Not this twisted nightmare. With a breath of pure resolve, she dug deeper into her love for her children, channeling all her fears into forward motion. But the ground split further beneath them, dragging Claire toward the swirling void. Just as she felt the shadows tighten their hold around her, a spark ignited in the darkness, a blaze of vibrant colors erupting, piercing the gloom, holding it back. Would the light hold against the insatiable darkness? As the walls shook and the shadows thrashed, Claire couldn't tell how much longer they could withstand the witch's fury. Would they be swallowed whole, or emerge from this madness reborn? The next moment came swiftly, unyielding, and filled with terror. The door that had once stood firm suddenly shuddered and cracked open, revealing an even darker path. What awaited them beyond? A cold draft rushed through the door as it creaked open, sending shivers down Claire's spine. It wasn't just a door, it was a portal to something much darker. The room felt as if it had inhaled sharply, drawing the oppressive darkness closer, eager to smother any flickering hope. "Stay close," Claire barked, rallying her instincts. But the shadows surged. They snaked up the walls, greedily licking at the vibrant light from Lily's drawings, the colors now dimming like a fire struggling against a windstorm. "Mom!" Sam's voice twisted with fear, a warning cry that resounded through the storm of panic. "Don't go in. I have to. We can't let her win." Claire shouted back, clenching her fists, desperate to stave off the impending horror. She could feel time squeezing around them, every second heavier than the last, confusion mingling with dread. Lily, still gripped by the power of her creativity, wavered. "But what if it's worse in there?" She trembled, eyes reflecting the swirling chaos. "What if we never come back? I won't let that happen," Claire asserted, her heart racing. She grabbed Lily's hand, steeling her resolve. "Together, we'll face whatever that is. No one gets left behind." But Mrs. Graves' laughter echoing like a thunderclap through the shadows swirling around. "Foolish mortals. You truly believe you can walk into the dark and escape unscathed? The unknown is where I thrive." Her voice broke into a sinister rasp, weaving through the air like smoke, wrapping around their throats, choking out hope. Then, Claire instinctively pulled Sam into the light of Lily's drawings. Draw something powerful. Something to protect us." With a shaky hand, Lily took a deep breath, her pencil hovering over the paper, uncertainty clouding her expression. What could possibly contain the malevolence that lurked just beyond the threshold? She could feel the weight of their lives pressed into her small frame, and panic clawed at her heart. I don't know what to draw." "Anything. A shield, a barrier," Claire shouted, while the shadows loomed at the edges of their vision, haunting and promising unspeakable things. As Lily frantically sketched the first strokes of a mighty shield, Claire felt the walls closing in, a vice around her chest. She could see Sam trembling, paralyzed with fear, eyes wide as the darkness spilled from the doorway, eager to claim its prizes. Suddenly, a piercing shriek erupted from the doorway, and Claire's heart dropped. What was that? Sam's voice climbed into a shrill note, panic washing over his face. "I don't know. We can't let it touch us." Claire grabbed Sam, pulling him closer, feeling the warmth of his small body against her. The shadows retreated slightly, as if caught off guard by their resolve, but the darkness was relentless. It slashed through the air, violent and hungry for their despair. "Lily! Hurry!" Claire yelled, fully aware of the moment. Time had become liquid, dragging them into its depths as Mrs. Graves' monstrous form flickered at the edge of the light. The witch's voice twisted through the air, dousing their bravery with chilling certainty. "You can fight, but your hope is futile. Just give in." In that instant, the ground beneath them shook violently, cracking like a monster-esque growl. Tiles spiraled upwards, and a dark abyss yawned below, threatening to consume everything. A piercing scream climbed from the fissure, a scream that echoed a warning. "Draw faster." Claire urged, but with each second, shadows clawed more fiercely, pulling them closer to the gaping maw of darkness, a creature in itself hungry for their very souls. Just before Claire felt herself slipping, she caught a glimpse of a radiant figure take shape in Lily's drawing. Yes. Hold on to it. Claire cried out, fighting against the pull of despair. But the chilling laughter of Mrs. Graves filled the air, and the world seemed to tighten around them as reality warped. You think you can hope your way out? Hope is the most fragile illusion of all, and as Claire felt the edge of the void draw nearer, Lily's face became a portrait of utter determination. Would that courage be enough to conquer the overpowering terror? As shadows rose to engulf them, would the figure in Lily's drawing take form, or would they all be lost to darkness? And then the door slammed shut. Darkness enveloped them completely. What lay ahead was an even deeper abyss, darker than they could ever imagine. The world became a thick, suffocating void, an absence of color or sound, where even breath felt stolen away. Claire's heart pounded, reverberating against the crushing silence. Lily! Sam! She cried, but her own voice echoed back, taunting her with its emptiness. Panic swept over her like a tidal wave. Mom, where are we? Sam whimpered, his voice trembling, nearly submerged in the oppressive dark. I don't know. Claire's words fell flat as a sound broke through. A low chittering filled the air, a sound like dry leaves skittering over gravel but layered with something else, whispers, sinister and unintelligible, buzzing at the edges of reason. She tightened her grip on Sam, her fingers digging into his shoulder, her knuckles going white. Lily gasped. That noise, it's getting closer. Keep drawing. Claire shouted, her desperation surging. Whatever you sketched before, we need it now. She felt the shadows breathe around them, as if they were alive, stirring with malevolence. The suffocating darkness pressed in, squeezing against her skin, taunting her with the promise of despair. With trembling fingers, Lily pressed her pencil against the paper once more, the sound of the graphite fracturing the silence. Each stroke felt like a whispered prayer, a lifeline cast into the abyss. Claire watched the shield take shape, a glow beginning to bloom at its center, where light and dark wrestled for dominance. Then, a cold chill scuttled across the floor, followed by the unmistakable sound of nails scratching against tile. It was near. Claire's breath hitched as a shadow shifted, pooling and reshaping into grotesque forms. For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw distorted faces, their mouths moving in silent screams. We're running out of time. With a burst of adrenaline, Claire shouted into the dark, You'll not take us. We'll fight. No more fear. Her voice cut through the darkness momentarily, drawing a sharp gasp from Sam. But the countersinging whispers around her sharpened, rising like a choir of madness, drowning out her will. The shadows pulsed, their fury echoed through the void, and for an agonizing second, Claire was certain they could see her fear, each heartbeat magnified in their dark eyes. Just as the swirling mass began to rush at them, the shield Lily drew ignited in brilliant light, filling the space with a searing glow that tore through the darkness. What is happening? Sam cried, shielding his eyes. The shadows recoiled, screeching as they were seared by the glow. It's working, Lily. Claire urged. More. Keep drawing. Lily's lines were fierce now, each stroke more assertive as she poured every ounce of her courage into that paper. The shield shimmered, forming radiant edges glistening like glass. Yet still, the darkness lashed out, striking against the edges, hungry for retribution. Claire could feel the tension, the darkness pressing closer again, clawing ferociously. The shield can't hold forever. Claire warned. We need a way out. Then, amid the shadows, a faint light gleamed from somewhere deeper, a flicker that drew her attention. There. Do you see it? Claire pointed, hope igniting like a match in a windstorm, but the air crackled, and Mrs. Graves' mocking laughter echoed ominously around them. You think you can escape? I will feast on your souls. You cannot hide in the light forever. Without warning, the darkness surged forward, slashing through the air with swift, merciless strikes. Claire felt something grip her ankle, a cold tendril that pulled her backward, dragging her toward the encroaching depth of despair. Sam screamed a raw, terrifying sound that pierced through the fabric of darkness. "Lily! Protect us!" Claire yelled, fighting against the dark grasp, feeling the ice creep up her spine. But before Lily could respond, her bold enchantment wavered, flickering as the shadows crashed against it, threatening to snuff out their only defense. "Hold on to each other." Claire's voice rang clear amidst the chaos. And just when hope teetered on the edge of oblivion, a new sound emerged, a soft, pleading voice chiming from the light that had caught Claire's eye. "Help us please," it wailed, echoing through the shadows and beseeching them. The glow pulsed, pulling against the darkness, and Claire's heart raced with rising fear. Who was calling? What lay beyond the flicker? "Stay strong," Claire urged, gripping Sam and Lily tight as the shadows roared in defiance, but as the voice called out again, the shadows began to weave, dancing like specters. Claire felt the ground tremble, her breath quickening. The abyss awaited, but what choice did they truly have? Was the plea from above a beacon of salvation, or was it merely another trap laid by Mrs. Graves? The line between ally and enemy blurred as the darkness tightened its grip just as the light flickered again. What lay in the heart of that glow? The light pulsed again, almost breathing, as if it sensed their fear and desperation. Claire squinted against its brilliance, trying to discern any figure that might have produced that haunting call. "Who's there?" she yelled, her voice trembling. The shadows shifted, an ominous wave crowding around them. "Protect us!" Sam whimpered, grasping hold of Claire's waist as the tendril still gripped at her ankle. Its icy fingers sent shockwaves of icy dread surging up her leg. "I can't hold it much longer." Lily's voice shattered through the chaos, words falling heavy and desperate. The drawing glimmered but flickered dangerously, shadows clawing at its edges like desperate spirits yearning for a taste of light. The pleading voice rose again, its tone both familiar and unrecognizable. "Help us, help me." Its echoing desperation sent a chill dragging through Claire's spine, leaving a tingling sensation of dread crawling along her skin. "What does it want?" she shouted at the flickering light, her gut twisting like a knot. The shadows seemed to pause momentarily, responsive. They held their breath as if they too were waiting for an answer to the unseen entity's plea. Suddenly, the shadows lunged. The bright edge of the shield flickered, a brief glint of hope vanishing as they pressed forward, relentless and ravenous. Claire felt the tendril loosen around her ankle, but cold fingers latched onto Sam, pulling him away. "Mom!" he screamed, panic warping his voice. "No! Sam!" Claire lunged forward, feeling the pull of dread trying to drag her toward the depths. As she let go of Lily to grab Sam, the shield flickered and dimmed. "Don't let go," she ordered, voice rising with urgency. But it was too late. The darkness swallowed Lily's drawing. The void howled, alive with vicious whispers. "You will be mine." Mrs. Graves' voice pierced through the noise, a cacophony of malice that rose above all else. The shadows surged forward with a horrific force, and in that instant, desperation ignited a primal instinct inside Claire. She couldn't let the darkness win. Not now. With her heart pounding like thunder, Claire shouted, "Lily, draw the light." Her words struggled against the crashing shadows, every syllable feeling heavy as lead. But it was not just for Lily, it was for Sam, for herself, for the very chance to escape. As if responding to her determination, the flickering light brightened, fueled by Claire's will. I'm trying." Lily's hands worked feverishly over the paper, her desperation palpable as she cycled through the moments of clarity and terror. The shadows hesitated just long enough for Claire to grasp Sam's hand, pulling him back toward her. "Stay close. We can make it," Claire urged, tugging him toward the light as the shadows howled around them, losing some of their grip on reality. For a fragile moment, the darkness faltered, unable to withstand the force of hope that surged within Claire. Then it happened. The flickering light exploded into a warmth that consumed the darkness, blinding and furious. Claire felt herself thrown backward, winded from the force of it. "Grab onto it!" Claire screamed, her voice battling the shadows, now desperate and confused. With a glance at Lily, she shouted, "Push through!" But as they stumbled toward the glow, that pleading voice twisted grotesquely, warping beneath the weight of the darkness. "No! You cannot leave me!" Before Claire could react, the shadows churned violently. Elemental chaos flashed, and tendrils shot out, encircling them like vines that sensed weakness. They began to draw Claire and Sam into an inky maw of despair. "No!" Claire roared, her chest tightening with fear, trying to break free from their grasp. "Fight it! We have to keep fighting!" But that last shred of light burst again, forcing shadows to shatter, splintering apart like fragile glass. For a moment, Claire could see the vastness beyond the promise of escape, but accompanied by the horror of another choice to make. "Help me!" came the voice again, taunting now, echoing through the void, and before Claire could step into the light, she glimpsed the source of that haunting call, a twisted figure grasping at the air, its face a contorted mask of pleading agony. It reached for her, shadows spilling from its essence. "Lily! We have to decide now!" Claire shouted, the weight of mortality heavy on her. But which path held salvation, and which was a descent into madness? As the darkness tightened, the ground beneath them trembled ominously. They had seconds to choose. Would they risk it all to find the truth, even if it meant confronting unspeakable horrors? And as Claire's heart raced, the figure in the light whispered a chilling reminder of the pact lurking beyond. One must be sacrificed. The ground beneath Claire's feet quaked like a living beast. The whispers from the shadowy depths twisted into a cacophony, wrapping around her, squeezing at her throat. The figure, gaunt and elongated, lingered in the halo of light, its face a mix of yearning and despair. "Mom!" Sam's voice was a pitiful squeak, terror-stricken. Claire felt his grip slacken, as if he were losing faith. She couldn't let that happen. Not now. Not when they were so close to escaping. "Hold on to me, Sam!" Claire yelled, her heart racing. She reached for the glow, felt the warmth of hope curling around her fingers, but the shadows pulled as if they were a tidal wave, threatening to consume everything. "Lily! What are you doing? Draw more light." Claire's voice held a frantic edge, urgency seeping into every syllable. She locked eyes with Lily. The girl was pale, staring at the page like it was a lifeline. "I'm trying, I swear. But it keeps fading." Lily's hands trembled, the pencil slipping through her fingers. The atmosphere was suffocating, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. Just think of something bright, something strong." The tendrils writhed closer, icy against Claire's skin, inching toward Sam's small form. She couldn't bear to watch them take him. In a moment of reckless courage, Claire turned back to the figure, its features now becoming clearer with each flash of the pulsating light. "Who are you? What do you want from us?" she demanded, the words spilling from her heart like blood from a wound. Its mouth curled into a smile that was anything but reassuring. "I want what has been denied." "Forget it!" Claire shouted, feeling fire ignite within her. "You won't have him." The darkness snarled, swirls of shadows thickening around them with each shout of defiance. "You do not understand," the figure cried, eyes widening. "You will not escape the curses of this place. You have walked into my world." "What do you mean?" "This is our world," Sam shouted, shaking Claire as he clung tightly to her. His innocent resolve broke through the engulfing fear. The shadows recoiled, letting out a wail so sorrowful it sent shivers through Claire's core. For a fleeting moment, a glimpse of confusion crossed the figure's twisted face. "Then why do you run? Why do you wish to forfeit your bonds?" Because there's a reason for them. Claire countered, courage spiraling through her veins. We're not your prisoners. Like a wave crashing on a shore, the shadows surged forward again, the darkness thick and suffocating. Claire felt a weight press down on her, an inescapable force threatening to pull her under. Draw, Lily. Claire screamed, desperation curling around her words as she watched the pencil slip from Lily's fingers again. She had to get them all out. Had to fight back against whatever this was, but the sheer force of the miasma made it difficult to breathe, and Sam was trembling, his small body trying to shrink into her like she could be a shield. Suddenly, a flickering warmth ignited around them, but it wasn't tea coming from Lily's paper. Claire looked over to find Sam's hand glowing faintly. Mom, look. I didn't do that. The shadows recoiled again, snarling in a dogged fury as if they loathed the light. No. You can't. He's not to be your salvation. The figure screeched, and with rage coursing through its features, it lunged toward them. Run! Claire yelled, grasping both Sam and Lily, thrusting them toward the escape of light. But the void shrieked in protest, tendrils slashing out like spears in the night. The very air vibrated with dark energy, pulsing with suspense and malevolence. And just when they thought they might break free, the ground shifted violently, opening up to a chasm of endless black. One last choice loomed before them. Together. We jump. Claire urged, feeling the darkness claw at her heels, drawing terror from her spine. But as they teetered on the edge, the figure twisted into a mirage behind them, its voice echoing in their minds like a thunderclap. One must be sacrificed. What would they choose? As the dark scatter gathered force, a disturbing realization struck Claire. Whom would they leave behind? In the depths of the night, fear wrapped around them, a primordial knot tighter than ever. But it paled next to the darkness surging close. Would they have the strength to decide who would pay the ultimate price to break free? As they faced the growing abyss, it felt like every heartbeat screamed for survival, but the shadows were always hungry. Claire's heart thundered in her chest, the frenzied beats echoing in the all-consuming darkness. The air was thick, crawling with the malevolence radiating from the figure just behind them. We can't choose. We stick together. She shouted, her voice tremulous but fierce. Mom, please. Sam's voice trembled, wide-eyed with fear. I don't want to lose anyone. I want to let that happen. Claire spat, shaking with a fierce resolve. The figure twisted in the shadows, a grotesque mockery of despair. Sacrifice, my dear, it crooned, its voice smooth yet jagged, slicing through their hope. It is the nature of this world. You must understand, someone must stay. No. Claire cried, clutching her children tightly, the warmth of their bodies anchoring her against the encroaching darkness. We find a way out. There has to be another choice. The ground beneath their feet shuddered violently. It was a reminder of the reality they stood on, the brink of obliteration, a chasm of black yawning wide, ready to swallow them whole. Lily's hand trembled, her pencil still grasped tightly. I can draw, we can fight. We can draw the light. She yelled, fear mixed with determination sparking in her eyes. Then do it. Draw quickly. Claire urged, as the shadows grew closer, hungry and desperate, thrumming against the very air around them. Lily dutifully pressed the tip of her pencil to the sketchbook, her small frame shaking as she poured every ounce of courage she had into each stroke. Claire locked eyes with Sam, squeezing his shoulder, igniting a fire of fearlessness within him. We will not lose each other. It was a fierce determination that bolstered them. With each flick of Lily's pencil, flickers of light erupted from the pages. Color painted the darkness like sun breaking through clouds, it blazed and caressed the shadows, although they fought back, lashing out with savage snarls, but the animalistic howls of Mrs. Graves pierced through the air. You cannot escape what has been sealed. The projection of dread wrapped around them tighter, threatening to pull them away. A strobing light pulsed from Lily's drawings, flickering like a heartbeat. "Mom, I can't keep this up," Lily cried, her hands trembling and wavering beneath the pressure. "Just a bit more," Claire urged, her own voice strained. The shadows clawed at Claire's legs, each scratch a reminder of the unrelenting void that sought to consume them whole. But within her, a fierce flame of love burned unquenchable. With her breath coming in harsh gasps, Claire shouted again, "Fight for each other. We do this together." The figure in the light twisted in agony, screeching at the encroaching light from the drawings. "No! You will not leave me. I will have one of you. No! You get none!" Claire roared, her heart swelling with defiance. She didn't know how, but she felt a surge of power flow through her. "We won't fall to your darkness." Together, Sam and Claire grasped onto Lily, their combined energy feeding the light. "Draw something incredible. Draw us a way home," Claire commanded. Lily understood, and the pencil flew across the page like the wings of a bird. In a glorious blinding flash, a radiant door crystallized from the depths of Lily's artwork, a doorway made of light, shimmering and inviting, slicing through the encroaching shadows. "Run!" Claire urged, jostling Sam and Lily forward toward the ethereal glow. With outstretched hands, they charged toward the doorway, Lily's light growing brighter, illuminating the night around them, revealing a path of freedom. Together. But just as they reached the threshold, the darkness recoiled. Mrs. Graves shrieked violently, "You think you can escape? You owe me a soul." Tendrils lashed out, desperate to claim them. In that last heartbeat, Claire tore her gaze from the door, faced the primeval darkness with every scrap of her being. "You will not take my children." Then, just as the shadows lunged, she stepped into the light, arms around her kids. Volts of energy thrummed as they hurtled through the door, catapulted into oblivion. A split second stretched into eternity, as the world exploded with light, filling the void with warmth that swept them off their feet. Then silence. They landed on solid ground, a shockwave of color and life surrounding them. The air was sweet with the scent of blooming flowers, the sweet fragrance engulfing them. "What just happened?" Sam gasped, wide-eyed but alive. Lily looked around, tears of joy breaking through. "Did we?" "Yes," Claire exclaimed, relief washing over her, and she pulled them into a tight embrace, heart still racing. They were free. "Mom, we did it!" Lily cheered, pulling back for a moment. Claire's heart swelled with love and gratitude, yet a shadow flinched at the back of her mind. Christening the moment, Claire knew they had faced something terrible, something particular to this world. And though they had emerged from the darkness, Claire understood they would never completely escape its echoing grip, but in that moment, with her children safe, she was just grateful for their freedom. Love surged in torrents, drowning out the dark. They had fought together, survived the impossible, forged a bond stronger than any darkness. One word echoed in Claire's heart, louder than any fear, that of hope. In the beautifully illuminated world of Maplewood, Claire knew they could create their own tales now. It was time to weave their story anew, one painted brightly with laughter and cherished moments. "Let us go home," Claire said, hand in hand, reconnecting with each other, memories blossoming like flowers in the warmth of day. They stepped forward together, into a new dawn. This was only the beginning, and now it's your turn to take action. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help reach even more fans who crave these wild adventures. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I want to hear from every single one of you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who also need to see this conclusion. Let us grow our community.